The Absolute emerged from quantum fold space at the edge of the Axiom system, with 200 Imperial dreadnoughts and 400 Allied warships from liberated species. It was the largest combined fleet in galactic history. On the sensors, they could see the Grand Armada waiting. 4,000 Confederation ships, the last loyal forces defending their dying government. But Una gave no order to fire. She simply waited. On the surface of Axiom Prime, in the deepest levels of the Council building, Vren Kar stood before the Axiom weapon. It was a sphere of impossible darkness contained in fields of energy that bent light around it. One command would unleash it. The entire system would collapse into an artificial singularity, taking the human fleet with it. His hand moved toward the activation panel. The doors burst open. Daro Ves entered, followed by 20 council members from different species. Behind them came security forces loyal to the Reform faction. "Step away from the weapon," Daro commanded. "You are committing treason," Vren Kar said, his voice shaking with rage. "No," Daro replied calmly. "I am committing sense. You are about to kill billions of our own people to spite an enemy who offers peace. That is not leadership. That is madness. They destroyed our fleet," Vren Kar shouted. "They shattered our authority. They poisoned our people against us. They must be punished." "We destroyed ourselves," said one of the other council members, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form. "We built an empire on lies and exploitation. The humans simply held up a mirror and made us look at what we had become. We are the villains of this story, Vren. We always have been." Vren Kar's hands clenched. "I have ruled for 3,000 years. I have maintained peace." "You maintained control," Daro corrected. "There is a difference. And now that control is breaking, you can either guide the transition peacefully or die trying to prevent the inevitable. Choose wisely." For a long moment, Vren Kar stood frozen. Then his shoulders slumped. 3,000 years of absolute certainty crumbled. He was not surrendering to humanity. He was surrendering to reality. "Arrest me if you must," he said quietly, "but I will not activate the weapon. I am many things, but I am not a mass murderer." The security forces moved forward and gently escorted him from the chamber. Daro immediately sent a message to the Absolute. Taeyang received it on the bridge. "The crisis is over. Vren Kar has been removed from power. The weapon is secure. The Confederation formally surrenders and requests negotiation terms." Una let out a breath she did not know she was holding. "No battle, then?" "No battle," Taeyang confirmed. "As it should be. We did not return to the galaxy to become conquerors. We returned to be the change the galaxy needs." He ordered the fleet to hold position while he took a small diplomatic shuttle down to Axiom Prime. Hana Song accompanied him, along with a security detail. They entered the Grand Council chamber, the same room where humanity had been judged and banished 1,200 years ago. This time, the chamber was not filled with judges looking down at humans. It was filled with representatives from 96 different species, all watching humanity with hope, fear, curiosity, and respect. Daro Ves stood at the center. He looked exhausted but relieved. "Prince Taeyang, thank you for giving us time to resolve this internally. Thank you for having the courage to do what was right," Taeyang replied. He looked around the chamber. "I stand where my ancestors stood. She was told humanity was too dangerous to exist among the stars, that we were violent and unworthy. She promised we would return. And we have." He paused, letting the moment settle. "But we did not return as the humans you remember. We evolved. We learned. We became something greater, not through war, though we are capable of it. Through determination, through unity, through refusal to accept that our past defined our future." Taeyang gestured to the chamber itself. "This place is a symbol of the old order, a hierarchy where some species ruled and others served, where decisions were made by a few for the many, where progress was feared and change was suppressed. I propose we dismantle it." Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. Daro's eyes widened. "Dismantle the council?" "Dismantle this council," Taeyang clarified, "and build something new, something better. I propose we create the Galactic Commonwealth, a true federation where every species, regardless of military power or technological advancement, has equal voice and equal vote, where knowledge is shared freely, where no species pays tribute to another, where we lift each other up instead of holding each other down." Hana stepped forward carrying a data tablet. "We have drafted a charter. It is based on principles of equality, freedom, and mutual support. Every species gets one vote in a Commonwealth Assembly. Decisions require majority approval. No single species can veto progress. No species can be forced to join, but all who join are protected and supported equally. And the Terran Empire asked a delegate from a species that had remained neutral, "Do you not seek to rule?" "The Terran Empire will become a member of the Commonwealth," Taeyang said. One voice among many. "Yes, we have the strongest military. Yes, we have advanced technology. But power without wisdom is tyranny. We learned that from watching the Confederation. We will not repeat your mistakes." He looked directly at Darrow. "We offer our technology freely: quantum fold drives, advanced medicine, manufacturing systems, educational resources. Everything we have, we will share. Not as payment, not as control, as gifts to fellow members of the Commonwealth. Because we believe that a galaxy where everyone thrives is better than a galaxy where only the strong survive." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates were eager. Others were skeptical. A few were openly hostile, seeing this as humanity trying to control them through different means. Nari, the young Lirani delegate, stood. "My people have already experienced the difference between Confederation rule and human partnership. The Confederation took everything and gave nothing. Humanity asked for nothing and gave everything. I trust their offer." Lyros 3 votes yes. One by one, species began to declare their support. Some needed days to consult with their homeworlds. But within 2 weeks, 63 species had voted to join the Commonwealth. 12 species that had benefited from the old Confederation's hierarchy tried to form a rival power bloc, but without military might to back them, their influence was limited. The transformation began immediately. Human engineering teams spread across member worlds, building infrastructure and sharing knowledge. Schools opened, teaching advanced science and mathematics. Hospitals received equipment that could cure diseases that had killed millions. Factories received blueprints for technologies that would lift entire civilizations into prosperity. But humanity also received gifts in return. Art from species that had evolved to see colors humans could not perceive. Music that moved through dimensions humans had not known existed. Philosophy from beings that thought in ways humans had never imagined. Mathematics from species that understood reality differently. The galaxy was not becoming human. It was becoming something greater. A true blend of millions of perspectives and possibilities. 6 months after the fall of the Confederation, the Commonwealth held its founding ceremony. Representatives from 96 species gathered. Not in the old council chamber, but in a new building designed by architects from 12 different worlds. It had no hierarchy of platforms. Everyone stood on the same level. Hana Song was elected as the first Secretary General, not because humanity demanded it, but because delegates from dozens of species voted for her. She had proven herself through actions, not words. She had brought aid when others brought only demands. In her acceptance speech, she said, "This is not humanity's Commonwealth. This is our Commonwealth. Every species here has something unique to contribute. Every voice matters. Every perspective makes us wiser. Together we will build a galaxy that our descendants will be proud of." Admiral Yuna Shin watched from the audience. Beside her sat a young captain named Nario, no relation to the Lirani delegate but equally idealistic. "Did we do the right thing?" Nari asked quietly. Yuna thought about her ancestors, about the exile, about 1,200 years of isolation and growth, about the choice they had faced when they returned, revenge or justice. Conquest or liberation. "Look around," she said.
"What do you see?"
Nari looked. She saw species mingling freely, conversations in a dozen languages, all translated in real time by technology humans had shared. She saw former enemies laughing together. She saw hope on faces that had known only desperation. "I see possibility," Nari said. "Then yes," Yuna replied. "We did the right thing." In orbit above Axiom Prime, the Horizon's Promise flew alongside warships from 100 worlds. The original human diplomatic vessel had been restored and preserved, a reminder of where humanity had started. It had been small and weak, carrying humans who were judged unworthy. Now it flew as a symbol, not of power, but of perseverance. Not of domination, but of determination. Not of revenge, but of redemption. On a distant world, in a quiet home, an old Vrix named Darrow Vess watched the ceremony broadcast. He had retired from politics, content to live out his remaining years in peace. He kept a small flower garden, tending plants from a dozen different worlds. Commonwealth species had brought them as gifts, symbols of new friendships. A young human officer visited him, bringing seeds from Earth. The alarms screamed across 30 star systems simultaneously. Ancient warning systems dormant for over a millennium suddenly blazed to life. On every council world, the same message appeared in bold red letters: quarantine breach. Human vessels detected. 50 Imperial dreadnoughts emerged from quantum fold space along the quarantine boundary. Each ship was 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that no galactic species had ever seen. Their hulls were black as void, covered in quantum field generators that made them appear and disappear like ghosts. On the bridge of the Absolute, Una watched the sensors light up. Automated defense platforms are activating. Count is 317. They are targeting us. Hold position, she ordered. Let them fire first. The platforms opened fire. Energy beams and missiles streaked through space. They hit the human shields and scattered like rain on glass. Not a single shot penetrated. Return fire, Una said calmly. Disable only. Do not destroy, the dreadnoughts responded. Precision strikes hit each platform's power core. In seconds, all 317 platforms went dark and dead. Send the message, Una ordered. Across the galaxy, on every major communication network, a broadcast began. Taeyang Im appeared standing in his silver robes. Behind him, the flag of the Terran Empire hung, showing Earth cradled in protective hands. People of the galaxy, he began. His voice was calm but carried weight. 1,200 years ago, humanity was banished from these stars. We were called too violent, too dangerous, too primitive to exist among civilized species. We were sent home and told never to return. He paused. Let the words settle. On 1,000 worlds, beings stopped what they were doing to watch. We obeyed, Taeyang continued. We returned to our system. We stayed within our quarantine zone, but we did not stop growing. We did not stop learning. We did not stop becoming more than we were. And now we have returned, not as the frightened species you remember, as something greater. The image behind him changed, showing footage of the solar system's transformation. Cities on Mars, fleets beyond counting. Technology that made Confederation ships look like ancient relics. We do not come for revenge, Taeyang said. We'd come with an offer, freedom, true freedom. Not the false peace of the Galactic Confederation, built on the suffering of client species. We know the truth. We have watched you for centuries. We have seen how the Council treats species they consider lesser. We have seen the tributes, the exploitation, the deliberate suppression of advancement. Now he looked directly into the camera. To every species suffering under Confederation rule, we offer alliance, partnership, not as masters and servants, but as equals. To the Confederation itself, your time of unchallenged rule is over. Change willingly or be changed by force. You have 1 month to respond. The broadcast ended. On the Council homeworld, panic erupted immediately. Emergency sessions were called. The old stone-faced leader, now ancient beyond measure, stared at the recordings of human ships with something like fear. Impossible, he whispered. They should have destroyed themselves. The projections all said they would collapse within centuries. The projections were wrong, his aide said. We underestimated them. Send the Grand Armada, he ordered. All of it. Every ship from every member world. We will crush them before they spread their poison. The Grand Armada assembled. 10,000 warships from 47 different species. It was the largest military force ever gathered in galactic history. They jumped to the quarantine boundary, ready to erase humanity once and for all. The Battle of the Threshold lasted 4 hours. The Confederation ships used traditional tactics, massed formations, overwhelming firepower. They had fought this way for thousands of years. It always worked. Against humanity, it was suicide. The Imperial dreadnoughts used quantum fold drives to appear and disappear at will. They were never where the enemy expected. Singularity cannons fired, and Confederation ships simply ceased to exist, pulled into artificial black holes. Graviton lances tore through shields designed for energy weapons. EMP missiles shut down entire formations at once. When it ended, 3,000 Confederation ships were destroyed. The rest retreated in chaos. Human casualties, 0. Hana Song watched the battle from the diplomatic vessel Eternal Dawn. She wore civilian clothes, not a military uniform. Her job was not to destroy but to build. "Captain Siok," she said to the ship's commander, "take us to Lyros 3. It is time to make good on the prince's promise." Siok Kang was a veteran, gray-haired, and careful. "That planet is deep in Confederation space. They may fire on us." "They may try," Hana said calmly, "but after what just happened, I doubt they will risk it. And we go unarmed. Just a diplomatic vessel and humanitarian supplies." The Eternal Dawn jumped to Lyros 3. It entered orbit unopposed. Confederation ships in the system watched but did not interfere. They had just seen what happened to those who challenged humanity. Hana took a shuttle down to the surface. The cities of Lyros 3 were old and crumbling. The Lyrani people were avian, with feathers that changed color with emotion. Right now, every Lyrani she passed showed gray and brown, fear and exhaustion. She was met by Lyra Tan, a young leader who had risen to prominence by demanding reform. Lyra's feathers were dull, worn from stress and poor nutrition. "You are human," Lyra said. It was not a question. "I am," Hana confirmed. "My name is Hana Song. I am here to discuss an alliance. The Confederation says you are violent, dangerous. They say you destroyed 3,000 ships without mercy." "We destroyed 3,000 ships that came to destroy us," Hana corrected gently. "We fired only after they attacked, and we are here now unarmed, offering help. Do those seem like the actions of mindless violence?" Lyra tilted her head, studying Hana. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," Hana said. "That is the point. The Confederation demands tribute from you, 70% of all you produce. They have kept your people poor for 800 years. We ask for nothing. We offer you technology, food, medicine, and protection. In exchange, we ask only that you consider joining our alliance. As equals." "Equals," Lyra repeated. Her feathers flickered with yellow. Surprise. "The Confederation has never used that word with us." "Because they do not see you as equals," Hana said. "They see you as resources to be exploited. We see you as people with potential. We were once like you, looked down on, dismissed, banished. We remember what that feels like." She gestured to her shuttle. "I brought supplies. Enough food to feed your capital city for a year. Medical equipment that can cure diseases your people have suffered from for generations. Manufacturing blueprints that will let you build your own advanced technology. All of it is yours. No strings attached. No tribute required." Lyra's feathers shifted to bright blue. Joy and disbelief mixed together. "Why?" "Because we can," Hana said simply. "And because it is right. We have advanced far beyond what we need for ourselves. Why hoard that knowledge? Why not lift others up with us?" In orbit, on an old Confederation monitoring station, Daroves watched the exchange. He was ancient now, one of the few Vricks who remembered the original human exile. His body was failing, kept alive only by medical technology. He watched Hana Song distribute supplies to grateful Lyrani. He watched children eat real food for the first time in their lives. He watched doctors weep as they received equipment that could save thousands. "They have changed," he said to his aide. "The humans we knew were rough and angry. These humans are precise, controlled, but they still have that fire, that refusal to accept injustice." "Should we report this to the council?" his aide asked. Darrow thought for a long moment. He remembered the human commander who had promised they would return. He remembered thinking she was just angry and would forget. He had been so wrong. "No," he said finally. "I will go to the council myself." It is time they heard some truths they have been avoiding. Within a week, Lyros 3 announced they were joining the Terran Alliance. Within 2 weeks, 12 other species made contact with Imperial diplomats. The Confederation's grip was slipping. Hana stood on the surface of Lyros 3, watching as construction crews began building schools and hospitals with human technology. Lyra stood beside her, feathers bright with every color of hope. "The Confederation will try to stop this," Lyra said. "Let them try," Hana replied. "They have ruled through fear and control for too long. We offer something they never could, a real choice. And people who have tasted freedom will never accept chains again." Above them, the Eternal Dawn hung in orbit. Around it, 3 Lyrani patrol ships flew in formation, small and outdated by human standards. But they flew proudly under their own flag for the first time in 800 years. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was just getting started. The Grand Council chamber on Axiom Prime had never been this full. Every member species sent their highest representatives. The emergency session had been called after 17 species declared neutrality, and 8 openly joined the Terran Alliance. The Confederation was bleeding members, and the Council could not stop it. Vrenkar, the ancient stone-skinned leader, looked across the assembled delegates. His hands trembled with age and rage. He had led the Council for 3,000 years. He had never imagined it could fall apart in mere months. "Order," he demanded, his voice amplified through the chamber. "We must have order." But there was no order. Delegates shouted at each other in dozens of languages. Some demanded immediate attack on humanity. Others called for negotiation. A few brave voices suggested the Confederation had brought this on itself. On the Vrix delegation platform, Darrow Vess stood slowly. His movement caught attention. He was the oldest being in the chamber, older even than Vrenkar. When he spoke, others listened out of respect, if nothing else. "I remember the humans," he said. His voice was weak but clear. "I was there when we voted to exile them. I voted yes. I believed they were too dangerous, too violent. I was wrong." The chamber quieted. "We did not exile them because they were violent," Darrow continued. "We exiled them because they were different. Because they asked questions we did not want to answer. Because they grew too quickly and made us uncomfortable. We wrapped our fear in noble words like peace and safety, but it was just fear." "You grow sentimental in your age," Vrenkar said coldly. "The humans are exactly as dangerous as we feared. They destroyed 3,000 ships. Ships that attacked them first," Darrow shot back. "Ships that came to exterminate them for the crime of crossing an imaginary line. And they did not pursue. They did not attack our homeworlds. They held back. Does that sound like the behavior of a mindlessly violent species?" "They are poisoning the galaxy with their words," a delegate from the winged species said. "Offering false promises of freedom to species that do not understand the responsibility of self-governance. Species you have deliberately kept ignorant," a new voice said. Everyone turned. On one of the smaller platforms stood a young Lirani delegate. Her name was Nari, and she wore the colors of the Terran Alliance proudly on her chest. "The Lirani people were granted observer status by the Council 20 years ago," she said. "So I am allowed to speak here, and I will speak truth. The Confederation has kept my people in poverty for 8 centuries. You took 70% of everything we produced. You gave us nothing in return. No technology, no aid, no hope, just demands for more tribute." "Your species was protected," Vrenkar said. "Fed and sheltered under our guidance. We were slaves," Nari said flatly. "Slaves who did not even realize we were slaves because you told us this was normal. This was the price of galactic citizenship. But humanity showed us the truth. Within 1 week of joining their alliance, we received more aid than we got from the Confederation in 800 years. Medical supplies that saved thousands. Technology that let us feed ourselves. Education that taught us we could be more than we were." She looked around the chamber. "And you know what humanity asked in return? Nothing, not tribute, not servitude. Just that we choose freely to stand with them. That is what you fear. Not violence, freedom." The chamber erupted again. Delegates shouted support or condemnation. Vrenkar slammed his massive fist on his platform and the sound echoed like thunder. "The Lirani delegate will be silent," he ordered. "This council does not recognize species that have betrayed their oaths." "Then you do not recognize 8 species who were members for thousands of years," Nari replied calmly. "How long before there are no species left to recognize?" Far above the planet, hidden in the darkness between stars, Soman Beck watched the council session through quantum surveillance. She sat in a stealth ship so advanced that Confederation sensors could not detect it even at close range. Beside her, Mira Jang analyzed data streams from the Confederation's classified networks. "The intelligence leak worked perfectly," Mira reported. She had spent 5 years undercover in the Confederation bureaucracy, slowly building a network of contacts. Every major news outlet in Confederation space now has access to the financial records. They can see exactly how much tribute each client species pays and where that wealth goes. Someone studied the data. The core worlds take 90%. They live in luxury while their client species starve. And the Council has been hiding this information for millennia. Not just hiding it, Mira said. She pulled up another file. Actively suppressing any species that showed signs of advancing too quickly. "Look at this. The Themis mining species developed fusion power 400 years ago. The Council confiscated the technology and executed the scientists. They claimed it was for galactic safety. Really, they just did not want the Themis to become independent. How many cases like this? At least 40 we can document. Probably hundreds more. Soman smiled coldly. Send it all. Every network. Every news outlet. Even the ones that support the Council. We will let the truth do the work for us. The data dump hit the galactic networks like a bomb. Within hours, populations on dozens of worlds learned that their governments had been lying to them for generations. The tribute they paid did not fund galactic infrastructure or maintain peace. It funded the luxury of the core worlds. Riots broke out on 14 planets simultaneously. Some governments tried to suppress the information. Others claimed it was human propaganda. But the documents were real. The numbers were verified. The truth could not be denied. On Axiom Prime, Vrenkar watched his perfect galaxy crumble. Emergency reports flooded in. 3 more species declared independence. 2 member worlds had revolutions that overthrew their council-aligned governments. The Grand Armada was fracturing as crews from different species refused to fight together. We must act decisively, he told his inner council. Arrest the leaders of the rebellion. Make examples of them. Show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us. That will only make things worse, one advisor warned. The humans want us to react with force. It will prove their claims that we rule through fear. Then what do you suggest? Vrenkar demanded. We negotiate? Surrender? Allow them to dismantle everything we have built? What you have built, Daroves said, entering the private chamber uninvited. Not the galaxy. You, the council. You built a system that served yourselves at the expense of everyone else, and now you are surprised that people want to tear it down. You have no authority here, Vrenkar said. I have the authority of age and experience, Darrow replied, and I am telling you that you have already lost. Not to human weapons, to human ideas. They offered people something you never could. Hope, dignity, the chance to be more than they are. You cannot fight that with warships. Watch me, Vrenkar said coldly. He activated the Council's emergency powers, powers that had not been used in 50,000 years. He declared martial law across all Confederation space. Any species that declared independence would be considered in rebellion. Any ship that flew the Terran Alliance flag would be destroyed on sight. Any person caught communicating with humanity would be executed for treason. The response was immediate and catastrophic. 5 more species immediately joined the Terran Alliance. 3 others declared complete independence from both the Confederation and humanity, just to escape Vrenkar's tyranny. The Council's authority collapsed like a house built on sand. Taeyang. Im received the reports aboard the Absolute. Yuna stood beside him, watching the galactic map shift in real time. Confederation territory shrank with each passing hour. He has made our job easier, Yuna observed. By showing his true nature, he proves everything we said about the Council. But he is also dangerous now, Taeyang said. Desperate and cornered. That makes him unpredictable. A priority message came through. It was from Daroves using a secret channel. The old Vrix appeared on screen looking exhausted. Prince Taeyang, he said. I am contacting you because I believe you truly want peace, not just victory. Vrenkar has activated the Axiom weapon. It is an ancient device, built millions of years ago by the species that founded the Confederation. It can destroy the entire Axiom system, sacrificing billions to create an explosion that will take out anything within 100 light-years. He would kill his own people? Yuna asked, shocked. He would rather destroy everything than admit he was wrong, Darrow said. I am organizing a coalition of council members who want to stop him. But we need time. Can you hold back your advance? Give us a chance to remove him from power peacefully? Taeyang considered. How much time? 1 week. Maybe 2. If we fail, you will need to take Axiom Prime by force. And if you do, the weapon will activate automatically. Taeyang looked at Yuna. She nodded slowly. They had the military power to take Axiom Prime in hours, but it would cost millions of civilian lives. You have 2 weeks, Taeyang said. After that, we come anyway. And I promise you, we will find a way to stop that weapon. Darrow bowed his head in gratitude. Thank you. You are proving to be better than we deserve. The transmission ended. Taeyang stared at the map, watching the galaxy reorganize itself. The old order was dying. The question was whether it would die peacefully or take billions with it. 1,200 years passed. The galaxy forgot about humanity. Most species believed the humans had destroyed themselves in their isolation. Some thought they had simply faded away. unable to survive without galactic technology. A few remembered the angry human commander who had promised to return, but they were old now, and their warnings sounded like ancient myths. In the galactic records, humanity became a footnote, a failed species, a cautionary tale about primitive cultures reaching too far, too fast. The galaxy moved on. The council still met. Trade routes still flowed. Wars were small and quickly ended. Everything stayed the same, exactly as it had for 200,000 years. But in a small corner of the galaxy, behind a quarantine zone that no one bothered to watch anymore, something incredible had happened. Yuna Shin stood on the observation deck of the Imperial Dreadnought Absolute. Through the window, she could see the transformed solar system. Where there had once been a single inhabited world, there were now dozens. Mars glowed red with terraformed forests. Venus had been cooled and given oceans. Even the moons of Jupiter and Saturn held cities under protective domes. The asteroid belt no longer existed. Every single rock had been converted into automated factories. They churned out ships, weapons, and technology day and night without stopping. The asteroid belt had become a cloud of construction platforms, each one larger than old Earth's biggest cities. Yuna was 37 years old, but she would live to be 300. Every human would. Genetic modification had given humanity longer life, stronger bodies, and sharper minds. She stood 2 meters tall with muscles enhanced by careful engineering. Her eyes had been modified to see into infrared and ultraviolet. Her bones were reinforced with carbon lattices that made them nearly unbreakable. She was not special. Every human had these modifications now. They had spent 12 centuries improving themselves, not just their technology. "Admiral," a voice said behind her. She turned. Taeyang Im walked onto the observation deck. He wore the silver robes of the Imperial heir. His face was young, barely 25, but his eyes held centuries of knowledge. He had studied every battle in human history, every diplomatic exchange, every success and failure of galactic civilization. "Your Highness," Yuna said, bowing slightly. "Please, we are alone. Call me Taeyang." He moved to stand beside her at the window. "Beautiful, is it not? What desperation built." "Desperation and anger," Yuna said. "We were sent home like disobedient children, told to stay in our room and think about what we had done. And we did think," Taeyang said. "For 1,200 years. We thought very carefully about what we wanted to become, not what they expected, not what they feared, what we chose." Somenbeck entered the observation deck. She was older than both of them, nearly 90, though she looked 40. As head of Imperial Intelligence, she had access to even better life extension treatments. Her eyes were sharp and cold. "The surveillance data is ready," she said without greeting. "You should both see this." They followed her to the war room deep inside the Absolute. The room was vast, filled with holographic displays. Each one showed a different part of the galaxy. Somen waved her hand and the displays shifted. "This is the current state of the Galactic Confederation," she said. Images appeared showing dozens of worlds. In 1,200 years, they have changed almost nothing. Same council, same trade routes, same rules, same stagnation, Taeyang said softly. "Worse than stagnation." Somen expanded one display. It showed a planet covered in slums. "This is Lyris 3, home to the Lirani people. For 800 years, they have paid tribute to the Council, food, resources, labor. The Council takes 70% of everything they produce. The Lirani live in poverty while the core worlds grow fat." She changed the display. "Hadros 4, our old colony. The Vrix took it after we left. They stripped it bare in 50 years and abandoned it. Nothing lives there now." Another display. "Thamus Station. A mining operation. The workers are from 6 different species. They are paid nothing. They are slaves in everything but name. The Council knows and does nothing." Yuna felt old anger stirring in her chest. "How many worlds like this?" 43 that we can confirm," Somen said. "Likely more. The Council controls information tightly. These are just the ones we could verify through quantum surveillance." Jun Han entered the war room carrying a data tablet. He was the youngest person there, only 22. But he was also the most brilliant engineer humanity had produced in 2 generations. He had designed the Absolute and her sister ships. "The new drives are ready," he announced. "All 50 dreadnoughts have been fitted with quantum fold technology. We can reach any point in the galaxy in hours, not months." "And the weapons?" Taeyang asked. June smiled. It was not a kind smile. "The singularity cannons tested perfectly. One shot can destabilize a star. The graviton lances can crack a planet's crust. The EMP missiles will shut down any ship built with Confederation technology. You sound proud, Yuna observed. I am, June said without shame. For 1,200 years they thought we would destroy ourselves. Instead we became something greater. I am proud of what we built, what we survived, what we are about to do. Taeyang moved to the center of the room. Above him, a hologram of the galaxy rotated slowly. The quarantine zone was marked in red. It looked like a tiny bubble in the massive spiral. My ancestors stood in a council chamber and were told humanity was too dangerous to exist among the stars, he said. They were called violent, primitive, unworthy. They were sent home in shame. He reached up and touched the red bubble. But they did not break. They did not give up. They built this. He gestured to the displays around them. An empire. A civilization that would make the entire galaxy pause. And they passed down one message through every generation. Remember. Remember what was done to us. Remember what we promised. Somin crossed her arms. So we are doing this. We are breaking the quarantine. Yes, Taeyang said simply, but not for revenge. For justice. The galaxy has suffered under the Confederation's rule for long enough. They have kept species trapped in poverty and ignorance to maintain their own power. They fear change because change threatens their control. And we bring change, Yuna said. We bring evolution, Taeyang corrected. We will show them that their perfect, peaceful galaxy is built on suffering they choose not to see. We will offer freedom to every species that wants it. And yes, we will use force if necessary. But we will not conquer. We will liberate. June pulled up another display. It showed the quarantine boundary. There are automated defense platforms along the entire perimeter. They are old, built with 1,200-year-old technology. They will activate the moment we cross. Let them, Yuna said. Our shields can handle anything they built back then. And if they send ships, they will learn how far we have advanced. Taeyang nodded slowly. Alert all 50 dreadnoughts. Prepare the crews. We jump in 1 week? What about the Emperor? Somin asked. Does he approve? My father built this fleet for this exact purpose, Taeyang said. He has been waiting his entire life to see humanity return to the galaxy. He gives his blessing. They stood in silence for a moment. The weight of what they were about to do settled on all of them. 1,200 years of preparation. 1,200 years of waiting. It all came down to this. Yuna thought about her ancestor. The first Shin to be born in the Sol system after the exile. That Shin had never seen another star system. Had lived and died within the quarantine zone. But that Shin had helped build the first generation of improved warships. Had passed down stories of the exile. Had kept the anger alive but channeled it into purpose. Every generation had added something. Better engines. Stronger weapons. Longer lives. Each generation preparing the next. Building toward this moment. They wanted us to disappear, Yuna said quietly. They wanted to forget we ever existed. Taeyang smiled. It was cold and sharp as a knife. Then we will remind them. In 1 week, the galaxy learns that humanity did not disappear. We evolved, and we are coming home. The council chamber stretched wider than any stadium on Earth. Jiwan Park stood at the center, surrounded by creatures from 47 different worlds. Some had scales, others had feathers. A few glowed with their own light. They all stared at her with the same expression. Judgment. She wore her military uniform, pressed and clean. The blue fabric felt heavy on her shoulders. Behind her stood 3 other humans. Hyun Kim clutched his data tablet like a lifeline. Minhyo Choi had his arms crossed, jaw tight. Subin Lee looked around with wide eyes, still hoping for mercy. The head of the council rose from his floating platform. His name was impossible for human tongues to pronounce. His species had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. His skin looked like polished stone, gray and cracked with age. Humanity, he began. His voice came through translators, cold and mechanical. You have been among the stars for 10 years. In that time, you have proven yourselves unworthy of galactic citizenship. Jiwan felt her fists clench. She forced them open. We came in peace. We followed your rules. You followed our rules while breaking them in spirit, another council member said. This one had too many eyes, all of them fixed on Jiwan. Your colony on Hadros 4 militarized within months. You built weapons. You trained soldiers. Because the Vrix collective kept crossing into our territory, Jiwan shot back. They attacked our mining operations 3 times. We defended ourselves. You destroyed 17 Vrick ships, the stone-faced leader said. You killed 4,000 beings. Hyun stepped forward. They fired first. We have recordings. Video evidence. They wanted our resources and thought humans would be easy targets. The council chamber filled with clicking sounds. Some species showed approval this way, others showed contempt. G1 could not tell which was which. The Vricks have apologized for their aggression, a third council member said. She had wings that shimmered like oil on water. They have paid compensation to this council. You humans refuse to show remorse. Remorse for defending our people? Minho spoke now, his voice hard. Would you let someone murder your children and apologize with money? The chamber erupted in noise. Hisses, chirps, booms, and whistles filled the air. The stone-faced leader raised one massive hand. Silence fell like a hammer. This is why you do not belong here, he said. You are too violent, too quick to anger, too dangerous. Humanity has a history of war. On your own planet, you nearly destroyed yourselves 12 times. Nuclear weapons, biological weapons. You poisoned your own air and water. And we stopped, Subin said softly. We learned. We changed. That is why we are here. We want to be better. Some species cannot change, the winged council member said. Some carry violence in their nature. The galaxy has known peace for 200,000 years. We will not risk that peace for a species that has existed for a mere 200,000 years and spent most of it killing each other. Ji-won felt something break inside her chest. Not her heart. Something harder. Her hope, maybe, or her patience. You talk about peace, she said quietly. The translator caught her words and spread them through the chamber. But I see fear. You're afraid of us. Not because we are violent. Because we are new. Because we do things differently. Because we might challenge the way things have always been. The stone-faced leader leaned forward. You think very highly of yourselves. No, Jawan said. We think highly of potential. Of growth, of change. You sit in your perfect galaxy and judge us for our past. But you ignore what we could become. You ignore that we reached the stars despite every obstacle. We did not have ancient knowledge handed to us. We built everything from nothing. And yes, we made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But we learned from every single one. The chamber stayed silent. Ji-won pressed on. You want to banish us because we remind you of something you have forgotten. Progress requires risk. Peace requires understanding, not isolation. You do not have peace. You have stagnation. Enough, the leader said. His voice boomed without the translator. We have made our decision. Humanity is hereby banished from the galaxy. You will abandon all colonies beyond your home system. You will return to Earth and remain within 50 light years of your sun. If you cross this boundary, we will consider it an act of war. The combined fleets of 47 worlds will erase you from existence. Hyun looked like someone had struck him. Subin covered her mouth with both hands. Minho stared at the council with pure hatred. Ji-won stood perfectly still. You are making a mistake. You have 5 years, the winged council member said. After that, any human found beyond the quarantine zone will be killed. Any human ship will be destroyed. You brought this on yourselves. When do we leave? Ji-won asked. Immediately. Your ship will be escorted to the boundary. You will carry news of this verdict to your people. Ji-won looked at each council member in turn. She memorized their faces. All of them. Very well. We accept your judgment. But know this. She took a breath. We will remember. Every human will remember. We will tell our children and they will tell theirs. We will remember that we came to you with open hands and you slapped them away. We will remember that we asked for partnership and you gave us exile. Are you threatening this council? The stone-faced leader asked. No, Ji-won said. She smiled and there was nothing friendly in it. I am making a promise. We will go back to our system. We will stay there as you command. But we will not stop growing. We will not stop learning. We will not stop becoming more than we are. And one day when we are ready, we will return to this galaxy, not as beggars asking for acceptance, as equals demanding respect. She turned her back on the council. In their culture, this was a deep insult. She did not care. Hyun, Minho, and Subin followed her out of the chamber. Their ship waited in orbit. The Horizon's Promise. A small vessel compared to the massive warships of the galactic fleet. But it was human. Built by human hands with human minds and human hope. As they flew back toward Earth, Ji-won looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, 12 million human colonists were packing their lives into cargo ships, leaving homes they had built with sweat and dreams. Children who had never seen Earth would have to leave the only worlds they knew. What do we do now? Subin asked. Jiwan kept watching the stars. We go home, we build, we prepare, and we make sure that when humanity returns to these stars, no one will ever be able to tell us to leave again. The horizon's promise jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, the council chamber emptied. The council members returned to their perfect worlds, confident they had solved a problem. They had no idea what they had created,